withdraw from PayPal a few months ago.
We need bus drivers.
I just told him he's got to expand his repertoire. He's got to go to a different industries instead of trying to stay where he. Three, two, welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I'm your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, David Hall.
I am here.
Right, Greg Hectus.
I am here.
And Brad Wren.
Another NIS special week and another wreck.
Man. On today's show, we see how NASCAR Coke Series drivers are giving back to the community. Find out how the Fanatec acquisition will affect you. Look at the 2024 Season 4 Patch 2. See if these bad habits are holding you back. Will iRacing ever get proper multi-class starts? And has Logitech finally gotten serious about sim racing?
That's right, Mike. And remember that you can follow along with us on your PC or your mobile device in real time as you listen to the show and see for yourself all of the great topics and products we'll discuss by visiting iRacersLounge.com, selecting the show notes. We hope to see you there.
Oops. Are we supposed to start topics now? My bad. Okay, let's start topics. Oops.
Okay,
was I supposed to pick somebody? Mike, go.
I'll go. Yeah, so we have a oops from Greg West actually in the forums about the Indy 6-hour race. He says this, quote, "Hi all, we owe you an apology. While the feedback from the community helped push us to decide to utilize our regular iRating base splitting system for this event, we unfortunately did not deactivate the system. This was simply human error and not based on any malice or intent to pull one over on the community. Please accept our most sincere apologies for the mistake."
Shit happens.
So did you guys notice or what?
I didn't know that they were going to change it back. I thought they were running the new system, and that was what I was expecting. So yeah, I noticed that we run the new system because that was what I was expecting.
Yeah, same here. I mean, we talked about it last week, but yeah, I mean, where our split was, I think it was fine. I think there were still some GT3 only splits somewhere along the way.
Well, it may not be 100% unavoidable, no matter what they do. If there's 3 times as many GT3s as anything else, but it is doing a better job of, at least in the IMSA splits, of kind of splitting the other stuff in half instead of piling everybody into the top split.
Thing is, do you know how scanner works?
I don't think Fuji is a good week to get a proper representation if it's right or not, just because of the attendance is rather low.
It's very low. It almost didn't go official the other night. There was like 12 people. It's wet. It's really wet. Tony will have fun with that one. All right. So we've had a couple of patches since season 4 has come out. Greg, I know you were looking over the patch notes.
Yeah, so it was kind of I don't know if we were waiting for it. I know it kind of just dropped the one day, but there's just some minor stuff that they fixed on the patch. I guess it was like 3 or 4 gigs of stuff, but there's just some fixes to the weather system, some dirt graphics and audio changes, and then there's some changes to some of the cars just to fix up some stuff that I guess has been found over the last couple days. It looks like the McLaren and the mini stock got a bunch of different things with textures and stuff fixed just to fix, they're the newest cars, so they found some bugs on them, I guess.
This one in the weather intrigues me. It says fixed an issue where a significant temperature change occurred at exactly 4 hours and 6 minutes into any session using static weather. Like, what intrigues me about it is like, how did they stumble along this bug? And why is the bug exactly 4 hours and 6 minutes? I mean, I'd like to know the history behind what happened with that.
That sounds like a purposely, like a line of code that was kind of written, and it's an equals or minus something that's set instead of being random.
So, like, if it got super cold, did it start snowing?
Can you imagine if it accidentally turned on snow or something like that?
I guess we need that as the next weather upgrade, right? Actual snow. We need it for that
Wow.
Bristol race.
Well, yeah, why not? I was going to mention on the McLaren, the first thing they changed on the brand new car was improved in-car engine sounds. And so we had heard a video last week from Baldwin, I think his name was, that he
James
said
Baldwin.
James Baldwin, right? And that he's a driver of that car, and he said it didn't sound quite right. And wow, here we go. We have an actual, fix to that. But I guess I'll ask. I mean, are they releasing these cars too soon if like the audio's not right?
Was it because of the okay, getting the okay? They were more focused on maybe trying to get that than maybe get it finished up, or was it just something they overlooked and didn't get it done? Like, but if it only took them a week to get a new audio file and figure it out, that's not too bad.
It's also not really worth complaining about. I mean, it's probably better to have the car out with, even if they're going to put the sound out a little bit later.
Well, and you look at Spa, which was also an update. They brought out the new Spa. They added in the patch Barney, so Barney was completely missing, the flagman. And many other things like the Ferris wheel is now fully animated, so I presume it wasn't animated before. Stuff like that.
You wonder. Oh, sorry, Brad. Go ahead.
I was just going to bring up last week we talked about the Invisible Legacy Xfinity cars that was fixed in this patch as well.
That reminds me of what I thought about probably was causing that. Why it would never show up till now is the change in the way qualifying works, because you used to not be able to see other people when you qualified, right? If you run JRT's live spotter, when you're on the track, it will see the other JRT will see the other cars, even though they're not on the track, even though you don't see them and can't collide with them.
Yeah, well, like I noticed last night at Bristol during qualifying, I looked at my track map and I could see all the other cars, going around, and also spotters talking to you. I noticed that at Fuji, I'm turning a lap and it's like, hey, you got a faster car coming. And I'm like, yeah, there's nobody around me.
Yeah, so I bet you it was related to that, and that's why it had that invisible car issue. Is it is probably related to the transfer of the changeover of the qualifying system.
They're probably, it's a system that they haven't done, and this is a bug that's gonna that's working its way out. Like you were saying there, Brad, it was telling you like there was a car there and it's not. It's the only other thing that I could think is kind of close to what that is when you're in, was it spectator mode? You can actually get on the track and drive, or with the other cars on the track.
Look, yeah, I've had this as well with JRT Dash going yellow during qualifying. When I'm on the track by myself, I'll go into a corner and it'll say yellow, like there's a caution, like be aware there's a car spun in front of you, and that's what the dash is signaling to me. And what it's doing is obviously it's picking up what others are doing in their qualifying laps and displaying that to me, and that's obviously broken.
Here's the other thing with all these updates, the way like you were talking about Spa there, and getting some of the things done. Maybe there was a checklist and they just weren't done the checklist when they needed to release it, so they just kept working on it past the deadline, and and then they finally got it out.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we've kind of talked about that before. I mean, I think I brought it up, I don't know, maybe the week of the first build. It's, we get a brand new track, but, the flagman's missing or this is missing. It just seems like, things that I would think should be part of a regular priority to have right on the track before it's released. I mean, how do you have a race start if you don't have a flagger? I mean, I know the flagger doesn't do anything for the race, but in the overall scheme of things, it just, that seems to be a pretty big thing to go missing.
See, I feel the opposite. I'm not too worried about it if the overall stuff is working. There's other stuff I'd rather they worry about fixing.
Yeah, I'm not worried about outside objects. They can be fixed at some point.
Well, this next one is definitely one of those things that really should be fixed, and it'll take a little bit of a system overhaul. This is a tweet from Dan Suzuki, and what's happened here is the GT3 car leader decided to go before green and ran over the LMP2 cars before they even started.
Yeah, this is a constant issue in any multi-class race. Guys will try to give gap, and that's fine, and we need to. You got your GTPs, your LMP2s, and your GT3s, and everybody tries to give a gap, and that's fine. The problem is like for example, Fuji. So GTPs are getting the green when they're on the straight for the start. We're GT3s, you're still climbing up through the hill, and bam, you get the green, and it never fails. Somebody's going to jump it every single time. I just don't know why we can't. There ought to be a way for them to figure this out. I know there's talk about going back through all of the, what do they call it? They mentioned it in the last update.
Racing operations.
Yes, racing operations. But I think if you're going to do multi-class racing, they need to fix this because it's just not enjoyable.
Yeah, whether they jump it or not. What's funny about it is this leader left the gap. Because you don't want to. There's a situation sometimes where until the cars get a little bit more spread out, the front cars are not going to be turning their best lap time. So you can kind of run them down and get in a bunch of bad situations where you got, say, the LMP2s are a little bit quicker in certain situations, but the P1s are. And if you don't let them have about 10 seconds to get strung out first so they can all be turning their faster laps, you start to just get in very dangerous and unfriendly situations because the LMP2s, when they catch, they tend to get this mightier than thou attitude, and they're like, I'm caught up with an LMP or P2. I'm going to prove him that he shouldn't even be in this class, basically, and they'll start driving you really stupidly. So it needs 3 pace cars or just some way to just force the other guys to wait till they come to the start finish line and instead of having to start halfway back on the track.
Yeah, because like I said, it ruins outside of the fastest class. The other two classes, the start is ruined from the very beginning. I mean, one of the Indy races I ran, I mean, nobody left a gap, and we get into turn one, and we are on top of the LMP2s, and then they start wrecking, and then it's nothing you can do. The track's blocked. I mean, you're starting 4th or 5th, and I should be starting 4th or 5th in my class. Instead, I'm 20th because we're right up behind the LMP2s.
Yeah,
Trying to envision in iRacing, what does that look like visually? Like if I'm in the second group of cars at the start and I'm on the front row, how is iRacing directing me to maintain a certain speed and weight before I go?
When the pace car pulls off, you've got the little box there telling you where you got to maintain a pace speed. I mean, why can't it do the same thing? Think about Talladega. Talladega, pace car pulls off. You've still got, 10 seconds or whatever it is. You've got that long stretch till you get there with the little box telling you do not exceed don't exceed the speed.
Yeah, but it
Would
only
work
does that
perfect.
for the leader. They'd have to make it do it for the class leader as well.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, there ought to be a way to do something to where, again, it's just if you watch any multi-class racing in real life, you get 2 starts or 3 starts or however many it is. It's just not fair. Each class ought to have a proper start to the race.
Definitely needs fixing. All right, well, it has finally happened. It is officially now that Fanatec is a part of Corsair. And Indoor AG, which I guess was the parent company, original parent company, has been liquidated.
Wow. This is bad news for any shareholder. They lost all their money. They got zero back. They're not going to get nothing. And so that's how it ends. Now, Corsair, an American company, is going to basically run Fanatec, bring it into their umbrella, and but run it as a separate company. They're still going to have the headquarters in Germany, and those people won't lose their jobs. Is what's been said. And but Corsair is going to push their own flavor on, first of all, customer service, and warranty and all these type of things to make it worthy of what Corsair typically does in business. We have some great videos here to detail that. We have Team Trauma Racing talking about the takeover and the roadmap going forward, as well as the one guy, I think it's Carell, who always puts out videos on this topic. And then we even got today, some of us got as customers an email from Fanatec with basically a a letter from the CEO of Corsair. Greg, you got that? What do you think?
Yeah, because this kind of turned me on to go look for all the stuff on Twitter and all that stuff. But I was kind of impressed. I don't know. I was trying to find Corsair's standing in what their customer service is like. I couldn't find anything on it, but they want their customer service and speedy. They want to speed up the delivery, have honor the warranties that are out there right now. Obviously, anyone that's got them, got a Fanatec wheel that has a warranty on it, it is still valid for that. And they also want to start doing, I guess now, the other thing is that we were worried about with Fanatec going away, if it had gone away, sorry, would be no software updates. So now it looks like they're going to be able to have people still working on software and any issues that come up with any of their wheels. I'm just interested to see where Corsair goes with their this peripheral. I know some of their other, like I have other peripherals from them, like headphones, and I've had mics and things like that. I just don't know what they're adding to this business. They're using the Fanatec people. How is that going to improve anything? And that's what I want to know, how that's going to do it.
Well, I would hope there would be some in the future, some oversight. You go through acquisitions. The company I work for, we've gone through multiples. We just did another one this week. You're going to leave people in place right now because you still have to operate businesses, but over time, you're going to go ahead and start making some changes. You're going to have the people that need to stay will stay. Those that don't need to stay. Corsair's probably has a completely different culture than what Fanatec has. So there's going to be changes along those ways as well. But look, I mean, I think Corsair's going to do the right thing. They're going to, you have to maintain warranties. You have to maintain the customer service. I've had Corsair stuff multiple times through the years. I don't know what their customer service is like because I've never had anything go bad. But then again, they weren't making, a steering wheel or anything like that. But I think at the end of the day, um, this is probably the best thing consumer wise that could have happened for the community to have someone purchase the company that I think is probably going to do the right thing and will continue to support it. We'll probably continue to develop it. Again, Fanatec I know we have been very tough on them, but they have a very well known name when it comes to hardware. And it's not just on the PC side. It's huge on the console side.
I'll read a few of the quotes from the email, um, and so you guys have a little flavor of the listeners here. What does this mean for customer service speed of delivery? He says, we know that some of the community are not happy about the current state of customer service. I get this. I hear you. We are committed to improving this. We want you to have the support you need should something go wrong. We run a global support and logistics operation, and we will be integrating Fanatec into this, giving you better service and more transparency.
I hope
One
so.
more. Yeah, one more, David. What does this mean for software updates? We are used to running a company that has both software and hardware elements. Corsair, Elgato, and Scuff all have these needs. We also know that people don't always get it right. That's where we will be stepping in and making things better. It won't be perfect straight away, but I am committed to ensure we improve this over time.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's kind of what I was saying. I mean, you've got Corsair that probably has a very good business model, has a very good um, system of dealing with things, whether it's infrastructure or whatever. So you then take that, you take that and you start to integrate that in, or you integrate Fanatec back into what you currently have, and that's when you can start fixing issues. It just takes time. I mean, it's not an overnight thing, but again, I think at the end of the day, this was the best outcome. I know people, investors, and all that stuff. There's a group of people that lost a lot of money, and you know what? That happens every time a business fails. Somebody loses money because those people invested in something. There's no guarantee in that. But at the end of the day, consumer wise, this was the best. This was the best result. Yeah, outcome. Thank you. That we could have asked for.
I do hope so, because I know I wasn't planning on buying anything, but if the chip writes itself in the next year or so, my rims are pretty beat up, so they could use replacing at some point, even though the base is still running great. I'm not going to install a firmware update for a long, long time though. All right. One of the other iRacing podcasts, in fact, the official iRacing podcast, put out another show.
Anybody catch it? I got the first part of it, but yeah, it's nice to hear from these guys. They talked about their new World of Outlaws game, and of course the season 4 build.
Yeah, I mean these seem to be about maybe once a quarter. For a while there, we were getting a little bit more than one, but just kind of recapped what was going on, a little bit of news. I didn't hear anything groundbreaking that we weren't. Nothing. I don't think really anything outside of what I think Greg Hill had already done in his development update.
Yeah, it was
They have a
kind of
tight
hard.
ship over there.
I listened to it, but it's been so many days now, and it was basically just the same news that we cover, that I can't remember anything else that sticks out either, except it's just fun to listen to those guys.
Well, look, I mean, we cover all the iRacing news, and we don't miss anything. We really don't. So there was, like you said, there wasn't anything new in there. But yeah, I still enjoy listening.
All right. Well, we were talking a little bit about the McLaren earlier, and next post is something having to do with the comparison of a real McLaren to iRacing's McLaren.
Yeah, so we had a post on X from PAP Motorsports saying how close is iRacing 720 to ours. It's pretty neat. They just kind of walk you through, show you what iRacing did when they came in to scan, what they scan, what they record, and all that. We've this is not really anything new. I did notice that, again, being out of the service for a while, scanning seems to have gotten a lot easier. It used to be they had to put all the little dots, and they had to put dust all over the cars, but now it's just the dots, and I guess they've almost got a hand scanner is what they can do. But very cool the way that they go in. I mean, and again, they're literally scanning virtually almost every piece of the car. You watch this, you'll see the engine, you'll see brakes. I mean, you'll see literally everything is being scanned, and again, the goal is to get a virtual copy of that car as close to realistic as possible.
Yeah, even with the tracks now, they don't have to go and set up a bunch of stationary scanners. They can just drive a van around it.
He talks a little bit about like shift points on the car, ABS lights, traction control activation, throttle input, steering input, ABS activation, all these different things, they're simulating as well. Not just the physical car, but how does the car perform? When, what rev does it shift at? Those kind of things.
Yeah, I mean that's all the data that they get from McLaren or from Path Motorsports. I mean, we've seen before where as they get updated data, they will then go in and update, the car. We just talked last week with the Xfinity car, how they made a change to the front spring because of the way that the way that the teams are running setups and all that. Now there's been a change, so let's go ahead and get the car updated.
We also have a video from iRacing featuring the car, and it's a pretty car.
I gotta love the orange, papaya orange, of course, especially if you're a Lando fan.
Now we're speaking about shifting in stats, and apparently they did put out a bug that was occurring during the Indy 6 Hour with the McLaren GT3. If you trigger the ABS around 40 to 60 miles while triggering the ABS, upshifts quickly all the way to gear 6. Then you can't accelerate anymore. I guess the video is showing this happening.
Why would you do that though? I can't imagine. What's the use case?
This is where you see guys that just do all kinds of stuff, and like what was the original reason that person found that bug?
Well, if you're always going to trigger ABS when you're decelerating. So is this going to be happening? Was this happening to anybody at the actual Indy race, or is this only happening because he's doing it from a dead start?
And there's no update in the patch for it either.
He insinuates that it also is due to upshifting quickly to 6th gear. So I presume that means if you stay in whatever gear you were in when you hit your brakes, that the car would go. So the real question is, why would the driver quickly go to 6th gear after slamming on his brakes?
Now, the way I read this is it's shifting itself up to 6th gear.
Oh, I see. Not good.
So
if he's just shifting it up, then it's it's a bug that's never going to happen in the real racing.
That doesn't. ABS is going to be activated. I just can't see the car just automatically upshifting itself, unless I don't know. Is it possible that someone would have had auto shift on? I don't know.
Well, he says upshifts. The way he says upshifts, I guess it's confusing. Did we look at the replies? Okay, the replies are saying, of course you would, and this is him saying it himself. There's no reason you would upshift, so he's doing it manually. So don't upshift quickly, and you after activating your ABS, and you'll be okay.
Right.
So he goes on here to say, I was just messing around in practice and I was spamming my paddles and was confused why I can't get my car rolling again. So there you go.
Well, wait, maybe it's this. You have the auto. You're in 6th gear, and you have the auto clutch on, so it does, or the anti-stall on, right? So it's auto clutching. So imagine your car is stopped, and you're trying to go. You hit the gas, but it's in 6th gear. It's not going to roll, is it?
It reminds me of when when you shut the ignition off on the cars, and if you have it in the wrong gear, it won't start it back up if you're rolling. Kind of reminds me.
Right, it's something like that. I don't know if it's a bug or not.
It's
Anyway,
not. Yeah.
Well, he wasn't able to get it going in 1st gear either after that, so it broke something in the car.
Maybe he blew the clutch apart. Isn't there clutch problems?
That is an odd one.
All right, so it's almost time for the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series finale. And there is a staff post inviting you to come watch it live.
like you, like the listener, like everybody, if you are an iRacing member, you are invited, but you have to get tickets by emailing iRacing at tickets@iracing.com. And you have to have a subject line in there. And then, anyway, for if you're bringing somebody with you, like a spouse or something, they need that information as well.
I gotta get to the Hall of Fame at some point. I can't. I want to go there so bad one of these days.
Yeah, we're within 3 to 5 hours for years, and we've never been. So I feel bad.
If I was close by, I would love going to this.
Mike, should we? Are we gonna do a live stream like we do every year?
Yeah, I think we'll have a watch party for the listeners. So everyone plan on it. Looks like it's October 1st. Race is 8 p.m. Eastern. Well, yeah, we'll plan on it in Discord.
We'll just keep advertising each week for it.
It says that Dale Earnhardt will be presenting the Champions Trophy post-race. We're also having a eSport forum in the NASCAR Hall of Fame Theater before the event.
Do you think they ever create obviously they have the simulation area in the Hall of Fame. Do you think they ever do an esports part to it? I know what you were shaking your head right away, but I just thought,
Why are you shaking your head, Brad? You just it's the thing, man. There's esports at schools now. Come on.
I'm not touching that.
Have a display. Look, can the Hall of Fame have a small display that folk talks about sim racing and eNASCAR and stuff? Yeah, I think it might be appropriate, but I don't think it should be part of the Hall of Fame.
Because what's the friend of the show that has been doing those series about history of the drivers?
It's DJ.
We're gonna be talking about him later.
From what he does, it feels like some of the guys he talks about, I feel like they're the Hall of Famers of iRacing. It's not that many years, but they kind of just feel like nostalgic Hall of Famers of esports racing.
All right, what we could do. Why don't we just go ahead and establish? This might be my second career. I'm 3 years from retirement, and then I'm just going to start the esports, e-racing Hall of Fame somewhere, maybe Nashville.
Don't put it in Arkansas; it'll probably get taken away by a tornado.
Ray Alfala, first ballot recipient.
There will be a No, I won't go there. I have a good one, but I'll leave it alone.
Look, this is a good opportunity to go visit the NASCAR Hall of Fame and attend an event that has to do with sim racing at the same time. If you're in the area, this is a no-brainer. Find this forum post, send the email to iRacing, get your tickets. You have to be on the list. You can't show up without tickets, is what it says. Now, other Coke Series news.
Somebody
Derek
can't show
up. Derek Bardeau is actually suspended for one race.
Did we not cover this last week?
The incident threshold.
I thought we already covered this last week.
Did we?
Yeah, I think we talked about it, but this was an updated post, I guess.
Yeah, I may have mentioned it. Anyway, it also says even if the appeals succeed, I didn't know you could appeal. He still faces a suspension for intentional wall riding on 5 separate laps.
So is he the Kevin Magnussen of esports racing?
Well, they're going to sit him down. Now, the other thing that came out that I think I wanted to bring back up this week was this link below, David, that's at enascar.com. And this is the penalty points report. And I don't know if I've seen this before, but it's very interesting to see. They actually determine blame on every caution. And so they lay out the Phoenix race here. And so they'll say, okay, caution lap 3. They list out the cars involved. And then they say the 34 car was at fault, Derek Bardeau.
And this is
Then they continue.
available publicly. Cool. Imagine. Well, I guess NASCAR actually does something like this too, but I guess they don't actually, unless you're Austin Dillon.
NASCAR does it, but they have a blindfold on when they do it.
Stop it.
Well, wait, Formula One has one, right, with Kevin Magnussen?
Yeah, he's back this weekend, and he's ready to f shit up, is what he said in his interview this weekend. He's got 0 points and no contract for next season. I would look out for him.
Now, if you scroll down to the bottom of this page, guys, there's a grid that shows historically over the season all the incident points assigned to different people. And you can quickly see who the problem is and who isn't the problem. For example, you go down to Nick Ottinger and Parker White, blank. They have no incidents. Okay. And then, but you look at some other people like Garrett Lowe and Donovan Strauss and Ryan Duchette, they all have incidents on every line almost.
Wow.
Derek wasn't good at Darlington or Phoenix. He did not have good races then.
So I guess as
What is the
you,
-1?
I would guess if you have a clean race, you end up getting a points reduction.
Oh, after you've already had the point.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one race. Okay, so you get a -1 after every race.
Yeah.
There's a
man.
handful. There's a handful of drivers that are blanks all the way across, and that's pretty cool, I think.
You know, I know somebody who has a propensity to really like to keep track of a lot of things. Like he keeps a folder and everything. He should do this.
Okay, other Coke series news to wrap this up. William Byron posted up on X a nice thank you to Coke series drivers Nick Ottinger and Tucker Minter for helping out his sponsor, Novant Health, for their St. Jude affiliate grand opening in Charlotte. And so he shows some pictures and videos of Parker and Nick with some Logitech equipment, of course, with the kids there at the hospital or the St. Jude situation there in Charlotte. Pretty cool to give back to the community, and I also think it's neat that when William Byron needs help with a sponsorship thing, he can turn to these NASCAR guys and get them involved as well. It's pretty neat.
All right, we have a video of Bobby Zielinski ripping to the lead with is Parker W. I don't know who
Parker
that is.
White.
Parker White, and in the Rod car.
Well, Rod Car is a league they're in apparently, but yeah, these guys. It's a great video. It's Talladega Gen 7, but they decide to just go from the back to the front through the pack, and it's a 101 lesson exactly of how to do it.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to watch some of the moves that I'm guessing that's Parker.
That's Bobby in the front.
Or Bobby in the front,
Parker's
yeah.
pushing.
Watching him just make holes, and yeah, I'm not that brave.
Well, they are able to do this because every driver in this league probably is dependable and skilled enough to hold a lane. You try to do this in NIS and you're going to die. Or there's somebody's just going to pull a dumb block and you're going to die.
Yeah, the holes will just close up because they won't be able to hold 4 wide in the first place.
It reminds me of our winter league that we've run before, where we would be in a similar situation, a big pack race, and then here comes Tyler Hudson out of nowhere, making it 4 and 5 wide, and he would just stick it in there, but he knew that everyone around it could hold it, and we did.
What?
Well, we were able to run 3 wide at Dega for a whole race in the Winter Series one time.
Is it bad that I find those cars better looking and more appealing with the bigger spoiler?
No.
Like,
Stop the presses. We got some iRacing.
All right. So I sort of hinted at it, but next up we've got a video that includes some iRacing cheese and discusses a serial protester. So the iRacing cheese has to do with the college series, and it's DJ EJ's video, and what he's talking about is that to get into the college series, to get into the main race, you get in through time attack. Problem is, week 1 of the series is Daytona. Can you imagine doing time attack at Daytona and trying to get into the top? And he lists all the things that they have to do to get the best time attack. And this is how much time these guys spend on this. They discovered that if you run the car for basically the 2.5 hour session, you can get your best times at that point. And that's how they're getting up into the top 40.
Wait, so I run time attack for over 2 hours in the same session, and then after I'm getting towards the end of it, I'll get faster? Is that what it means?
Yep, you cool your tires off. It does something with the physics. You cool your tires back off for a little bit without getting black flagged, and you can save like up to, I think they said, half a tenth or half a second. I don't remember which one it was, but it was half a something.
is it putting rubber on the track? Or
It might be
creating
putting
heat?
It might be putting rubber on the track, and it's also the cars don't use fuel when you're in time attack. They don't burn fuel,
God, 2 hours of running around by yourself.
and that's what. So, don't use time attack for this kind of for a speedway, a super speedway, or come up with something else. Yeah, that's pretty absurd.
Yeah, I'm gonna find out who the fastest racer is who can push their pedal down and turn left for 2 hours.
No, it's basically who can find the best hack at this point.
That's what happens when you put money on the line.
Okay, so wait a minute. So there's a bug, big deal. Now, what's the serial protester?
Well, we've talked about it, and we don't mention the name, so we're not going to, and we're probably going to try not to personally beat up on a person either. But I don't have a problem with calling out certain actions as extreme. So, but I'm also not going to place the blame on one person. I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit here. But we have a guy that is protesting somebody for basically every single little incident you do. And this, I really got some perspective of this when with DJ's video, when he pointed out something that's actually in the default chat with your macros. Okay. Somebody got protested for telling another person to leave something alone because they would have been arguing, and the guy said, "Leave it alone. He's just a racist troll." And this guy got successfully protested for those words. Okay, and this person that protested and protests everybody for everything, and admits to keeping a spreadsheet, and has basically decided he's a vigilante of some sorts, busting everybody for every little thing. So I understand protesting somebody when they attack you, or protesting somebody for cussing. But DJ pointed out that one of the default chats keybinds is "shut up, you crazy fool." He could protest that based on this. And iRacing put that in there. And then turns around and busts somebody else for essentially the same low level of insult.
Is this like these are like frivolous protests at some point? Like
I
the
think so.
guys that are working, like Nim Cross, who work the protest, and they see the same email from the same guy like every single day, or whatever, however often it is. Surely at some point they're done with it, right? Or
Well, it's
you
in the
would
code.
think.
It's in the code that you can get busted for frivolous for reporting. But somebody who saw that protest pushed the button and said, "Yeah, that person chat abused for saying somebody was a racist troll, for saying troll." So It's not. I don't really place the blame on this guy who shall remain nameless. I think it's because the protest system is hacky. All right, pretty much.
I I mean, to the law, he's not doing anything wrong by protesting as much as he can. It's whatever he wants to. But the more we talked about this, I warmed up to it a bit more of it. Like, you gotta have something better to do in your life. I mean, be like Brad, take up rain racing or something like that. Like, we can, I just, I don't know.
Well, it's like pulling somebody over for 1 mile over the speed limit, right?
No, it's the HOA Nazi.
Yes, I was just thinking. I was looking for the acronym, but what I don't get is, does it get to the point where eventually, like Mike was saying, that this guy's done it so much, it's like the boy who cried wolf. Like, when something actually needs to be protested, is he gonna ruin it that way, or do them cross and them keep a straight, level eye on it and just do it by the way it is and not judge it on who's the person protesting?
Well, look, I think this guy who remains nameless has got a reputation now in the community, and it's not a good one. It's not a good reputation, okay? I think if you watch anything at all, you know who this person is. And if you see him in a race, you may think differently about keying up when you would have keyed up normally. And I don't like that. It rubs me the wrong way.
And there is such a thing in the real world, even with rules, of the spirit of the law and the letter of the law. And there's always degrees of severity. All right, so um, the difference between a ticky tack foul and a flagrant foul.
Do you think if
What?
Hold on, Mike, do you think if he got protested and was out for a while, that iRacing would be like happy for a couple days where they're not getting letters in because he can't protest things he's not in?
Um, David, there's another podcast out there that goes into a lot more detail on this topic, right?
Yeah, it's our friends over at Mad Sim Racing who run into the Apex. They've been on our show. We've been on their show. I still team up with them every once in a while. Yeah, and they didn't hold any punches, and included naming his name. But you know,
What was their take?
there's just a point. I just have to go listen to it. I can't summarize it. They were just really rough on him. Um,
But that's my point. I mean, the guy's got a bad reputation now. I mean, there's a reason those guys at the Apex are rough on him, right?
Well, the term Karen, I think, would cover all the bases.
So I don't know if the guy's listening or not. If he's a listener, I've never had any problems with you on the track, but you need to allow for some gray area and not ticky tack. That's my advice. Back off of it, and it instead of being this way, because you're going to cause yourself more harm in the long run.
Well, look, it's we there's those of us that take this serious and we get emotional and we get upset and we say things in the heat of the moment that we probably didn't mean, and if we thought about it again, we wouldn't have said it. That happens. It's sports. It's whether it's virtual or it's real. The heat of the moment happens. And there has to be some grace to be given. We've all made mistakes. We've all said things we shouldn't. I personally try not to say anything just until I can go back and look at a replay because I don't know if it was my fault or if it was somebody else's. But it's just, it ruins the entire. I mean, I told you guys, I was in a race with said person, and it was super quiet. I don't know why.
Boring.
Like nobody even wants to talk when they see the guy in the room because they're afraid of what they may say. Well, they already know that everything is up to scrutiny.
quite frankly, some good banter and trash talk and can be
Beef.
entertaining. Yeah, everybody's like, we got beef. You get a little bit entertained, just like what always gets promoted on the NASCAR replays, the fights, the shoving, or the wrecks, right? Um, so there's just such a thing as going too far one direction or the other, and they're find a middle ground. So horse beaten. I say we move on. So we already have the 2025 season 5 build thread. Let's pop this open and see what all we've got.
Season 1, but yes.
Did I say
Supercars
season
Gen
5?
3. Yeah.
It would be like
Supercars Gen
wouldn't it be
3.
like wouldn't it be like season like 95 right now?
That'd be cool if they named them that way. They should have that in there somewhere.
Oh my! And I forgot about this one, the 2003 NASCAR Cup Series vehicle.
How'd you
I
forget about
totally
that?
forgot that that's coming. Well, it's just that it's not in front of me anymore. But yeah, that one's coming. Legends physics updates. Tracks Thruxton, Huset, a Charlotte Roval new configuration, North Wilkesboro rescan.
Hey, on the front here, you know that Supercar Gen 3, I read an article yesterday that Toyota wants to move into the Supercar series in the future as well, so that'll be interesting if they actually bring one of their cars to that Supercar series.
North Wilkesboro has already been rescanned.
Yeah, but we don't have the update, right?
Not yet, but it was scanned in March after the repave.
Other things on the list were the unknown new vehicle, career mode changes, new sim UI, new graphic engine, tire model updates. Yeah.
The Season 2 March build in a certain way.
Lots of tracks still. ARCA series rescan. This is all, I guess, teaser maybes.
It's crazy how much he's documented here.
None of it confirmed, though.
But even to have all the source elements attached to it, it's actually really cool to read through.
So, it is clearly established this person does not understand how trading paints works. Here it is again.
Well, yeah, we talked about this last week, and I think the post had just come out with the contest, and we hadn't seen the customary response, which now we have. So, yeah.
I want to know how they're tracking it.
So this is what she says. This is staff member Angela about the paint contest. Not the paint contest. You have to put on logos to be in the contest for the hardware. Anyway, here's what she says. Quote, as long as the other drivers in the race can see the paint scheme you created using the iRacing paint shop and not on trading paints, hope this helps. So wait a minute. So that means I can't upload a paint to Trading Paints and then I'm eligible? I got to make sure I don't have a paint on Trading Paints, but
That's about the only way they could track it is just to have it say to just do a cross track to trading paints that says there's nothing uploaded for that car. I guess that's how you could check it, but do they or don't they?
look, wait a minute. So can I go on Trading Paints and look up what paint David Hall has on the A car? I don't think I can.
Well, you probably can't, but iRacing probably can.
Yeah, true. Because they're friends, obviously.
So, what if I pick the sponsor in iRacing, but then I paint a car with the sponsor on Trading Paints?
Same sponsor.
Do I win?
I would put money on the fact that it just counts whether you've got that. It just checks if you've got the sponsor picked in the software. I would really be surprised if they're actually going and physically looking on Trading Paints unless they're able to do it fairly automatically. That's about the only way that has to apply. But well,
Agree.
so we'll see. I guess. I mean, I just don't even mess with it anymore. It's just a sweepstakes drawing anyway.
I think it's funny. We should just play circuits music quietly in the background while we read this one.
All right. So the next video talks about some of the bad habits that are holding sim racers back, and it starts with talking about trying to make up lost time on your relative, or not your relative, but your I forget what you call it.
Your Delta.
Delta, that's right. Try, if you have a bad corner, don't try to overdrive the next corner to get it back. It's basically one of the first tips.
He said switch it to be by sector instead of by lap, because it always forces him to overdrive after he makes a mistake, trying to regain what he lost early in the lap. And I found this fascinating because I do this in the F4 car during qualifying all the time, where I'll screw up at the beginning. I'm like, I got to make this up, and he has a good point.
Well, so for me, the only time I use the Delta is in practice. I do not use it in the race. Because it forces me to, well, it will cause me to overdrive the car. Is what ends up happening in the race.
Well, I can see my JRT Delta, but I don't feel like it affects me because it's just kind of telling. Particularly when I'm driving on the road, my laps are always getting faster anyway because we're burning off fuel. And then on the oval side, it's telling me what kind of fall off I'm getting. So I leave it on there, but I don't ever use the actual built-in Delta from iRacing. And I mean, I think I'm just kind of able to ignore it. And if I do have where it tends to affect me more is when I see that it's green and I'm like, all right, this might be my hot lap. And then I'll start almost trying too hard on the rest of the corners. So it almost has the opposite effect on me. It's like when I know that I'm having a really good lap that I'll have a tendency to choke or be too aggressive on a GT3 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean on the oval side, I'll use it in practice, and then typically we'll have it set to the previous lap. Just that way, can kind of keep track of where I'm at as far as trying to monitor my fall off.
Yeah, I thought it was a good video. He has some tips here about other stuff. He mentions if you overcook the tires in F3 due to heavy braking, it's a bad thing. So it's even though you can do heavy braking, you'd be faster if you don't. Just little stuff like that.
He mentions turning your tires up to see when your tires are being worked and when they're not. He mentions recovering from mistakes if you do spin and keeping your head in the game. He mentions that ABS can do some weird things to the temperature of a tire by making it get hot on the surface, but the core is staying kind of cold, and that can affect the handling on cars that have ABS if you overcook it. All right, I didn't get to watch the top 10 highlights though. What can y'all tell me about that one?
Well, I will say that the first video they play here, the 10th one, was the F4 battle for a win. And because I've been intimately driving this F4 car and trying to push it to the limit in the last several weeks or months, this one really hit home for me because I think when I watch these when I don't know the car, I'm just kind of watching them as a spectator. But boy, when it's your car, you're like, whoa, yeah, these guys are really pushing it. I can see, uh, the dicing back and forth. It's very familiar and very interested in watching that.
So it's a lot of sports car and Formula car finishes, right? Is what I'm seeing mostly.
That's what they typically are.
These are replays of videos we've seen in the last couple of weeks on social media. So like they'll put out a video of that 4 wide. We actually talked about that one last week, and it's in this video as well.
Yeah, it is nice to see that some cases where the cars can really drive on the road course side by side. Because one of the funniest things in the multi-class racing is how many of the GT3s will get mad if you go into a corner beside them. Not, and I'm not talking about dive bombing, but if you pull beside them or pull on the outside, and they'll be that they don't like to have to share the track with you at all.
I'm going to be quiet.
I'm trying to rib Brad because he gets a lot of the bad. There's bad at P drivers as well that won't follow the policy, and that causes GT3 players to do bad things because when I go in, if I know I'm not going to get beside the guy, I intentionally go further outside and brake and try to almost drive a little deep in and do a super late apex to cut under them after they apex. But because of that timing, if they decide they're going to let me dive bomb them, I end up running into them on the outside because they check up early without me expecting it. And they're doing that because they've been dive bombed so many times.
Well, the overarching issue is that we have to work together to have good passing, and people don't want to work together. You have
sides.
Yes, you have to work together. I always look for opportunities to where can I let this guy go that's not going to affect me and hamper my race, and at the same time, how can I let him go to where it doesn't affect him as well? So
you can't not affect each other. That's not the part. The key is safety, not affect. You're going to
minimize
times.
Yeah, but minimize is what I'm saying. Minimize the disturbance to both of our laps. So
But the main responsibility, the main responsibility is the safety. The loss of lap times is going to happen on both sides. I've gotten stuck behind GT3 drivers being safe and lost 5 seconds in one lap. Right. So I'm not going to apologize for costing you a second or two, even if you're in a tight race. If I did it safely, not dive bombing, but pulled beside you, but got beside you where it's going to mess up you're not going to be able to get the maximum effect for the rest of the lap, and it's going to cost you a second or two, because that is the multi-class racing. It's the safety aspect that's the bigger deal, and the predictability most you've been around me. I won't dive. You've noticed I won't dive bomb you. I come in behind, right, unless I have enough speed to get beside before the braking zone. But no, not every P1 is doing that. And so now the GT3s get kind of unpredictable as well. But at least we have suspension on those cars, right, Brad?
yes, unlike the mini stock fast repair. So we got a post here from Alex Crow saying, sorry if this has already been posted, but I had an instance where the fast repair didn't work on the mini stock. Looked like it repaired the bodywork, but left the rear suspension was halfway up in the body. So we've got multiple pictures here. Got another person, Olivia Hayward, said the same thing on the dirt version of it. So we basically have a mini stock with the rear end looking like a lowrider, with the tires all the way up inside the car. So we ended up with a post from staff member Michael Hinkle, said there is a known bug preventing the mini stocks from being repaired when it suffers from significant suspension damage. The team is working on this problem, and we will have it fixed soon, although it is not ready for our latest planned patch, which will be tomorrow. So this did not make the patch number 2 for season 2024.
Does the damage affect the handling, or is it just graphic?
Oh no, you can't drive it.
Yeah, you can't drive
I
it.
experienced this. I was in a hosted race. We were on the pavement version of the car, and basically at the end of the race, we always do a demo derby, and we did a demo derby, and we have damage turned off in this hosted race, and so the cars will repair, but boy, if you run into the car's back end enough, it would break it where I thought it would break the axle. I don't know about suspension, but to me it felt like the axle broke. But we were breaking the axle, and then the fast repair wouldn't fix it, and so there were several people who had it.
All right, next up we have a trophy that was presented to a driver that for winning. Was it a division in an official series? And I guess this was paid for by his team or some sort, right?
Division 1
Awesome.
Formula B Super Formula Series.
What I like is the actual trophy. So, like when I was almost about to win a 12-week championship, I started thinking about the certificate that you see in this picture. I'm like, I'm going to print that. I'm maybe going to frame it, hang it on the wall. And I was thinking, boy, it'd be cool if we had like an actual trophy. I'd be keen. I'd even pay for it, you know? And then these guys have put together a awesome looking trophy. I love this idea. Now, look, I'm going to throw this idea out to iRacing. Maybe they should have a thing where they can have a inexpensive trophy like this. You know, I can't imagine, it's like an acrylic, it's a clear plastic acrylic kind of thing, laser printed on it. I would guess you could get this for 20 or 30 bucks or something if you buy them in mass. But maybe they should just send out a short trophy to the winner of each series each season. I mean, is that a big cost? Is that too much to ask? I think it would be a neat touch.
Or put it on the merch as a merch option. Make your money
Even better.
from it. Yeah, but make it a merch option. You don't have to eat the cost. Let them buy it if they want, and if they don't, they can just take the little digital copy.
And it can be customized. Like you'd go onto their store, you would upload your certificate or whatever, and with your name on it, and then they would customize it, and you could buy it, pay for it. I love
So,
it. Great idea.
how many divisions? Is it 12?
It depends on the
10,
series,
I
but
think. I think it's 10.
10? Yeah, I mean it's not a lot of money.
it'd be a neat touch, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would.
I know.
Look,
I still have a trophy from a league I won back in the R Factor days, sitting over in my bedroom.
Right. The certificate was great 12 years ago. The PDF. But look, let's update that. Let's get out of that. Let's get something a little bit more than the PDF.
Mike wants his trophy so we can get into the Hall of Fame.
That's right.
When David retires and opens it.
Exactly. It's all coming together now.
Look, as team principal, I would have no problem buying a teammate a trophy. Like, for example, our friend Tom Dreiling, is winning. He just won the IndyCar iRacing Series championship. If I had a place where I could send some artwork and his name and stuff, I would buy Tom a trophy. I personally would buy it.
There are places. In fact, they sponsor Into the Apex, so there is a place. All right. I think Brad wants this next one. Greg, Toyota.
Hey, did you hear Toyota's going to the Supercar Series in 2026? I could have swore that I didn't see that it was confirmed when I read the thing earlier, but that was my bad. So it looks like they're bringing their Supra into the Supercar Series for 2026, which is going to be interesting to add that they'll have 3 makes.
You could turn that into a tongue twister.
And yeah, so like you said, when are we getting it in iRacing? Hopefully soon.
2026.
But how does this play into the other cars that we were promised from the Gen 3, right?
Well, you'll get those, and then they'll just add cause unless they do a body change, which I doubt they'll do body changes now. They got their next Gen 3 car, right? The Toyota coming in will be part of the Gen 3. Unlike NASCAR, I think the Supercar series likes their new Gen car series, whereas NASCAR they want to remake and go on to the next generation already.
No. NASCAR doesn't want to. We want
Sorry,
them to.
we want to. My bad. I meant the fans.
All right, moving on. We've got the opening round of the FIA SimMagic F4 Esports round. I think this has got to be Mike's.
Well, yeah, iRacing's doing some publicity here about the Pro Series. I didn't get to watch it, but they have a video and an article. Um, but Ireland's Alex Dunn makes a statement on Saturday during the opening round and takes the win.
Hey, won both of the races, both tracks.
This car is hard, guys. I'm in Division 4. These Division 1 guys, man, they are fast. I don't know how they do it. I even watched their in-car trying to pick up on what they're doing. I still don't know.
You're just able to put it on the edge more without losing control. All right, we have another update on an open wheel car. The Skip Barber Formula iRacing Series title is over. With his fifth victory, Matt Corona won the VRF finale, but Victor Miranda scored the title.
So he gets that Skip Barber ride, in other words, right?
Yeah, it gets a 3-day driving school.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
And in the events, we're apparently running for 500 miles 500 laps at Bristol.
Good Lord.
Full distance. This is 1 of 4. Now look, is this a crown jewel?
Used to be.
The night race at Bristol used to be a lot better. Yeah, it was more.
I don't think it was a crown jewel though ever.
I wouldn't say it was a crown jewel, but it was one that you wanted to win.
Well,
it's not Brickyard or Southern 500.
I think it's the novelty of running 500 laps there and it not being totally too long, right? Like when you think of 500 laps, it's 3 hours is pretty. Isn't bad.
Yeah, you can get better runs at Bristol for some reason than Martinsville. I guess because the lower skilled drivers can handle it better on the banking, drive it more like a mile and a half.
There's no need for brakes.
Not in this car.
We'll talk more about this during results.
Well, we're in the event, so go ahead and wrap up the rest of this week in iRacing, Brad.
Yeah, so we've got we talked about the NIS at Bristol. We've got the FIA F4 Esports Regional Tour. The Americas are at Sebring. Asia Pacific's at Fuji. Europe is at Algarve, and the Challenge Series, which is the fixed series, is at Fuji as well. And then remember, we've got the Fantech Global MX5 Cup with Prodigy Racing League. So this is the we're able to compete for an all expense paid trip to Prodigy Week. Top 25% of drivers from the series will be eligible for 2 of the Prodigy passes. As usual, got Ringmeister, Draft Master, Rainmaster, and IndyCar Series is at Indianapolis Road. So this is the Butt Kicker Pro iRacing Series.
It's going on right now. I just got the notification. It starts in about 5 minutes.
Yep. And then we've got the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup Contender Series. We'll be at Algarve race number 1, and that is on Saturday afternoon.
Podcast housekeeping. Leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform to make it easier for more listeners to find the podcast. Mention the podcast to your fellow drivers so they don't miss out. We do appreciate that. Check out our Discord and get involved in the discussion. And of course, our show notes are at iRacersLounge.com, where you can see as you listen. Don't forget, we're on Performance Motorsports Network, and get your merchandise, hats, t-shirts, and so forth at iRacersLounge.shop.
All right, let's start talking some fantasy at the Glen.
Yeah, so after our standings, well, our winners from Watkins Glen race, and first place was Team Duan with 219 points, followed by Moosh. And NASCAR Jedi 2 were tied for second. Fourth was Shane 72-72, and then Canadian was fifth.
And that lap one incident at the race, I mean, it really shows how qualifying is important, I think, to be in front of that stuff, right?
Yeah, yes. You make your bed, and some guys have made their bed, and they're sleeping in it, and it was a bad start.
I don't like how they have to make a choice if they want to go for points or go for a win on a road course, because there wasn't. I know they're talking like there was possibilities of making spots up, but it still wasn't the easiest race to make your positions back up.
It's not just on the road course. That's a choice every week. If you are going to go for the win, you have to give up stage points.
Not yeah, but you have more of a shot on an oval with the distance wise, whereas the road you're just too far behind after the first lap.
Well, just remember we tried last year without the stage breaks of the road courses, and for normal fans, it became a boring race because it was natural, and that's the way a race ought to play out. I have no issue. I would prefer them not to do the stage breaks. You want to award the points, that's fine, but let the race go as it naturally should, and then that way guys can run for the win and run for the points.
At the end, I mean, SVG showing he belongs still. I mean, he's right there in the mix. But boy, Chris Buescher, I never thought of Chris Buescher as a really kick butt road course racer, but he's really defined himself as such. I mean, that move he made was just awesome.
Well, SVG, he blew the bus stop. He admitted that he screwed up, and that's what you can't do. So, look, I think Buescher is a very good road course racer. I think he's one of the. I think I'd seen a stat where he's one of the high. He's earned some of the most highest points on the road courses in the next gen era, and you got to be there to capitalize. But look, a lot of the playoff guys took big hits. Lap one. Denny Hamlin caught up. Ryan Blaney caught up. Christopher Bell was caught up.
Denny Hamlin can't get out of his own way.
No, it's the dog's fault. So
that was such bullshit.
It's
never Denny's fault. Just ask him. Remember?
I know. Even though he ran 3 wide, and up the S's and had 2 lanes, two cars beside him, 2 lanes beside him, it was still not his fault that he went across the nose of Keselowski. So, I don't know. It's interesting. It's going to make Bristol a very interesting race. We saw how quickly things can turn. If you remember last year, Logano went out in round 1 because he got caught up in somebody else's mess. So I know Denny's going to go in and thinks he owns the place, and I would love to see him get caught up in something and be out in round 1.
What's my joke every year? He always picks a fight with somebody. This year it's NASCAR this time, and himself.
He also has given himself some bad karma by dogging on spotters, right?
Yeah, they're not letting up on that, are they? Mike, you were talking about Buescher there. I was listening to Harvick interview him after the race on his podcast, and Buescher says that he's, he focuses on a lot of the road racing now, and Ford puts a lot of work into it with letting them go out and race in different types of Fords on these tracks, and they work with like some specialty drivers that are coaches that help them develop their skills.
Yeah, Joey Hand worked with all the Ford drivers. If you remember, Joey Hand was in drives for Multimatic in the Ford Mustang GT3 at IMSA. He ran at the Chicago race for RFK. But yeah, Joey's worked with all of the Ford drivers. Super competitive, excellent driver. But look, it's not the days of road course ringers are gone. You got SVG comes in and probably one of the most talented road course racers we've seen in years, and he screwed up. He lost the race, and that's what we want. Look, at the end of the day, that's what we want to see. I like SVG,
but he screwed up because he was being pushed to screw up.
Correct. And what do? That's what you do. You know, you try to stay on to somebody and you force them to make a mistake.
Something that Busher noted is that where it started, SVG actually went right in turn one, and the rumble strips actually affected how fast he could push out of it. And that's when Busher started to gain on him, was right out of turn one into the S's.
I know Tony on our team, he goes, Busher's the road king. I feel like we have spurts every couple years of a driver that takes the prowess of being obviously we've not seen a full sample size of SVG for multiple years here, but you've had Busher's been really good the last couple of years. Larson's won a couple. You had Chase Elliott before they came to the new car. You had Reddick was doing good. I feel like they just go in little spurts, and then it goes on to another driver. They don't seem to always be the same ones for long periods of times like it used to be Stewart and Gordon, but that's when there wasn't much competition back then.
Well, as far as Bristol, I mean, it seems like people are already gifting the win to Denny Hamlin, but I think people are discounting Mr. Kyle Busch. I mean, Kyle is on a hot streak. I mean, he's been, almost won a couple times recently, but don't forget how many times Kyle has won at Bristol.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be one of the most interesting night races in a while. There's talk of the same tire they ran here in the spring, all the issues we had. My guess is probably won't have any tire issues. We didn't have any tire issues last fall with the same tire. So I would just kind of discount that. But I don't know. Look, something happens to somebody every single year, and there's going to be somebody who's going to go out that nobody expected. I think Truex is done. Harrison Burton is done. I don't know. There's four of them right there that are all on top of each other. Two that are out and two that are in. There's no telling what could happen.
I wouldn't put it past that Wood Brothers car doing decent though. They always seems to bring a good car to Bristol.
He's got a lot of points to make up. He needs a lot of other things to happen in order for him to, he can run great, but somebody else has got to have some issues. So finishing out fantasy playoff standings, we got Team Dwan in lead with 430, followed by Matt Robb 40 at 397. Third is Shane 7272. Fourth, Race Addict, and fifth is Cletus 545. And then overall league standings for the year, we've still got Canadian in the lead, followed by Dollar Cents, Connor Truman, Res Dog, and then Cletus 545. And then our own Tifosi's Tyler Williamson is in ninth. Fat Boy in 1990.
All right, first up, we have an update for an iRacing force feedback optimizing software. So feedback analysis tool from Scott Velez, and we just have a screenshot with a few of the pages, but I'm guessing he's just put an update out on the Discord for more for an update for the software.
He put this on our Discord, sharing it with some of the listeners, and there was a in-depth discussion going on about some of the use cases of this software and so forth. Went right over my head. I was kind of hoping you guys may have participated in that conversation or learned more about this software. I have not tried it, but this force feedback software looks intriguing.
Yeah, I was chatting back and forth with them. I haven't tried it yet. I remember this being around, something similar to this before. Again, it's basically the way that some of them say to set it is the way that I said it. But Scott's tool is, I think, is an opportunity to let you maybe eke a little bit more out of stuff, to where you can find that threshold to where you're not clipping, as opposed to the auto. Will kind of take you to a certain point. But I think if you can use Scott's tool, I think you can actually probably take it a little bit further to get you closer to that point where you're just under the clipping. I mean, again, I just think this shows the dedication that we have in the community of always trying to find something better or to continue to make things better, not only for ourselves but other people. I mean, this is something that Scott could have just done for himself, but he shared it with the community. So again, always good discussions going on our Discord channels.
I didn't get to participate in it, but I can just compare it to editing audio. You definitely don't want any clipping in audio, or you get especially in digital audio, you get just really, really nasty artifacts. But I'm wondering on the force feedback side if you might, in some cases, try to edge out just some of the very top peaks, because it's not going to be the same kind of artifact to get a little bit, but will that cause you to lose too much detail, or is it okay to push it just a little bit into the clipping zone, kind of like on old analog tapes? You may not remember this, Mike. You could kind of go into about the +3, +6 range, and you don't get clipping, but you will get some distortion in the sound, and that's basically what happens with a guitar. Is it's actually distortion, not clipping, but because of the analog nature, it has a smoother effect that it actually ends up becoming appealing.
Another software he has on his page here is the iRacing Setup Differ, a setup comparison tool. It gives you a side by side that's visually easy to look at and digest, as far as so you load up two sets and it tells you the difference, apparently. And then the third piece is a API data acquisition software where you get the telemetry. And so if you've ever wanted to grab iRacing telemetry and read the data, such as vehicle speed, engine RPMs, tire temps, and more, this is a tool to do such a thing. The website is svappslab.com.
All right, Mike, you do the LED kind of lighting stuff, and that's what this next video is about.
Yeah, SimDin put up a video on YouTube talking about what's called Daniel Newman Racing LED profiles that are offered. And basically you can put these into your sim hub and run them, and they program your DDU or your lights on your wheel. I have this on my wheel where I downloaded somebody's profile and installed it. I didn't have to do anything. And like if I come up along somebody, I get the blue on, like it'll flash blue on one side, like there's somebody beside me to the right or to the left and so forth. Or if there's a yellow, it'll do yellow. And so it does all the different colors and schemes. And so he just basically walks through in this video how to use it, how to actually do it.
All right, we have a review from, is this Boosted Media, on the Rexing Maris 2.
Oh, what a wheel this is. He says it's I think it is the first wheel with 4 screens on it. Okay, not 1, 4. Now the three small, there's one big one, obviously, and then there's three tiny screens above the buttons in the center part, the lower center part of the wheel. Uh, they show on the little display, whatever it is you're adjusting. Very cool.
I have a hard enough time just driving, let alone trying to look at little itty bitty screens like that.
This explains a lot of not driving straight down the straightaways with some of these guys we race against.
I mean, it's cool visually. Again, if you're like in something like VR, you're not going to care. But plus, anytime you make any switch in JRT, you can have it tell you what you've changed as well, which eliminates the need for this. Unless you got to have that Cadillac on the screen instead.
See, for me, depending on the car, I memorize what each click's doing. For me, it's just easy that way. I want to not be able to look at anything. I do my brake bias. I see it change on the dash, or up. I have a thing in display in the corner of my screen for brake bias. But I don't know. I mean, to each is our own, I guess. But it's a nice wheel. I just don't. I do not want to be looking down at my dash.
This is high end. I mean, $1,700. It's got triple paddles. It's got all the features and buttons and everything, rotaries, just like all the high end wheels. Lots of carbon fiber. And I think the big thing that Will Ford said is how light this is. It's not heavy compared to some of the other wheels in this category. Very high end wheels. I mean, there's so many to choose from, and now this one is another one. I mean, there's like we've said before, there's so many, there's almost too many. Pick your poison.
All right, Brad, you wrote the title. What do you mean free pedals?
Yes, we got a post here from, what is it? The Sim Circuit talking about the deal that Asetek has going on now. That promotion will be running through the end of September 2024. That they've got a bundle here that is, hang on, sorry. So if you buy the Forte Formula Wheel or the La Prima Formula Wheel, or any of the button box, then they will put in. You can then pick the pedals to go along with it. So pretty big deal here. Celebrating 3 years of, I guess, in business. So 3-year celebration bundle. Sometimes the best gift is the one you give. So include a set of Pajani pedals if you buy the certain bundles.
The Pajani were like their original set, and they have like a round pedal face and kind of a stylish Italian look. Um, I don't think they sold a lot of these. I don't think I've heard of or seen a lot of people that got these pedals, and so I think the video kind of insinuates, hey, they're trying to push these out. Let's move them, and let's try to move them by throwing them in for free. When they buy a base and such.
Well, you get what you pay for. Cube Controls and Asetek bundle coming up next. We have an next post from Cube Controls where you can combine their handcrafted steering wheels with the Asetek Sim Sport top tier wheelbases for the ultimate sim racing experience. I didn't realize. I guess that you just have to have a hub or something, because I thought Cube Controls tended to go on the other guys. SimuCube.
Well, Cube controls, I think you can put them on anything, but I think what they're advertising here is when you order now, you can like order it with the Asetek hub, and have it ready to go. Like with mine, when I bought my Cube controls, I had to buy separately, you know, the SemiCube, quick release thing. I had to buy an extension and I had to put everything together. And so now you can just order it this way.
Next up, OC Racing has reviewed the Camus e-pedal steering wheel. This is that one where the direct drive's kind of reversed and is actually in the wheel.
Right, but what he's talking about specifically, David, is a new feature on the wheel called the e-pedal, and basically there's little pressure buttons or sensors at the where the thumbs would rest on the left and right side of the wheel that you can use for throttle and braking. And the idea is, for handicapped people and people who have physical disabilities, perhaps can't use your legs or that kind of thing. This would allow you to have a throttle brake system built right into the wheel. The other advantage he points out is iRacers that travel. You could take, like we talked about, you could throw this in a suitcase or a backpack and then race on a laptop, in a hotel. And now you don't even need a pedals because you can use a little brake and throttle that are built into the wheel.
Now, he did say that the throttle was pretty much on or off. I think there was a little more sensitivity on the brake side. But yeah, I mean, again, it's if you're somebody who needs some sort of help, I think this is fantastic. I think about Carlos Fonseca, who we raced with for years. He's immediately the first person I thought about with this. OC gives it a good review. Again, it's not for everybody, but I think at the end of the day, it allows sim racing to get closer to people that would not be able to do it otherwise.
There's a whole organization that handles racing for particularly for disabled veterans, and so there's a whole lot of options that would be a little bit, especially if you're wanting to be particularly competitive, that would be a little bit better. This is a really good low cost option, I guess. But even with something like the Fanatec Formula Rim over here, you could turn the lower pedals into gas and throttle.
Yeah, no, I mean we see that in
Probably
real
work
life.
better.
Yeah, we see that in real life with hand controls and stuff like that. But I think you're right, Dave. For something that's an entry level, somebody just wanting to get into it, I think it's a good option. But like Mike said as well, say you're somebody who travels a lot and you just want to do some fun pickup racing or whatever, and you don't want to have to take pedals with you. So
All right, we have some software next. NASCAR stages for hosted or AI sessions. Apparently, this is version 2. What do y'all know about this one?
Well, just found this on the forums, and basically, I haven't tried it or anything, but it does stages in NASCAR, and I don't know exactly how this works. Friend of the podcast, Jeff Marble, was asking in our Discord chat for help with league scoring and stuff. And of course, the answer to that is Sim Racer Hub, which used to be danlisa.com, is a defunct place to get league scoring. But I also turned on Jeff Marble to this link, and he said that he was actually gonna check it out for his league that he runs. What's it called? Fast Track? Is that it? Yeah, he has a league. I think it's called Fast Track. So we're waiting to hear back from Jeff Marble. Perhaps he's going to try this, and hopefully we'll find out more information about how it actually works. But if
Well,
you're running a NASCAR league, yeah, you might look into this.
reading some of the brief, this thing will automatically throw the stages for you first. And by the way, if you're running a half distance league, don't do 3 stages. Ugh. But do 2. But it actually will track stage points, even and playoff eliminations, the whole 9 yards. So I hope that works for him. It'll be nice to hear about it. All right. The next one is this does this mean the best graphics card for iRacing? Is that what this is asking, or is it just the best graphics?
No, we had a video from Dan Suzuki. Said he'd gotten questions continually about why does his stream look so much better than other people's. So he kind of walks you through how he has his game set up, not only through just iRacing, but also walks you through Reshade, which is a tool that's used to add some effects, mainly contrast and whatnot. Not a bad video. I watched it. I haven't tried any of his stuff. I've been pretty happy with what I nailed down after, I think, going through. It's Brandon. I'm trying to think of his last name. Video we talked about a few months ago. But I've looked at the reshade stuff. I tried the NVIDIA. Like, so NVIDIA has the control panel, or not the control panel, but it's whatever NVIDIA, where you can adjust the contrast and all that. And I didn't care for that. But not a bad thing to look at. He touches briefly on the NVIDIA control panel, what changes to make in that. A lot of the stuff that he doesn't run or runs at minimums in iRacing, I run full, just I think it looks better. Um, but any of these videos like this, I think it's good to give you a little bit of explanation on what does what in the game, because even though you can hover over stuff in iRacing, sometimes it still doesn't make a ton of sense.
Yeah, I experimented a little bit with what he put in the video. Like I changed some of my NVIDIA control panel settings to match what he was saying. Um, and I experimented with some of the changes that in the iRacing sim as well. But this actually led me to try something different on my setup where I've been running since I started this computer at 4K triples in sim and in Windows. So I decided, well, I'm going to change everything over to 1440p instead of 4K. And so I did that in Windows. They're running at 1440p, the monitors. And then I did the NVIDIA surround. And then I reconfigured the sim graphics to be the 1440p versus 4K triples. And I can't tell the difference. It's not better. It's not worse. It's the same as far as I can tell. Now the frames, I probably gained 30 or 40 frames a second by doing that.
All right, Mike, you do use SimHub, right?
Yes, I'm very much into SimHub.
So that's the next video is about a SimHub plugin.
Yeah, Lovely Dashboard is a product out there I have not used, but they put up a video that they're moving their product into SimHub as a plugin. And so if you're in the Lovely Dashboard Discord, you can actually download the plugin now and get it installed. The video describes how to do that. You basically have to put the file into a folder under the SimHub installation, and then you relaunch SimHub, and then it's there. Um, but very much like the dashes that we talked about earlier in the show from Daniel Newman Racing, this is just another version. Um, I love how SimHub is becoming a hub for everything that has to do with software, third-party software. Like you run your butt kickers in there now. I run my ambient lighting in there. I got a wind sim in there as well. Uh, you got DDU and wheel lighting stuff as well. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've used the dashboard a few times. It's good. I like it. It's nice. It's you can. It's one of those where you can flip through different screens just like you would have in a typical DDU in game. But it does a good job. So I have not watched the full video, but he gets pretty in depth, giving you kind of everything that you need to know. Um, so probably this is one of the most recommended dashboards I think in the community when it comes to what people are using.
All right, I'm not sure if I want to take this next one serious or not. But Overtake GG thinks that Logitech has returned with serious sim racing gear.
You got Momo wheels. which are real race car wheels that you can put on their new Logitech button box, basically. And so they're doing something similar to what Acetec is doing with their wheels, where they do a button box and you pick a rim to go with it, basically.
I mean, I think they realized they needed to do something. I mean, again, this is nothing new. I mean, Fanatec came out with this, gosh, what, almost 10 years ago when they did that first with the button box that you could basically put on any wheel. You know, I mean, we talked before. This is a very expensive direct drive base, so they need to do something to give you more options than just using the wheel that it comes with.
Right. I still say it's a no buy. Don't buy this Logitech wheel base, but this certainly makes it, more swallowable, tolerable, I guess is the word, tolerable. When you do get options, like there is a universal hub you can get now for it, where you could, put whatever you want on it, under a regular bolt pattern.
And if you're in that ecosystem, then this gives you options. But I agree, this is not an ecosystem that I would go into.
And then there's a handbrake that doubles as a sequential shifter. There's no H pattern, but yeah, it's just a very simple design, big handle on it, uh, and it'll transition from that brake to the shifter, and they're selling that for $150. Very plastic looking, very 3D printed looking, no metal at all. Clamps, to like a desk clamp for it. All right, then we jump to results. Let's talk NASCAR iRacing Series. Friday, open, Watkins Glen, P8. It was boring, but it was fun at the end. I got some love on the TikTok stream from none other than Haley Deegan and her fiance, Chase Cabre. They were on my chat or on my stream on the TikTok throughout the Watkins Glen race Friday night, watching me, commenting on the chat. We had discussions going like while I'm racing. Uh, it was pretty cool. I found out. I asked her, what is she going to be racing next? Because I asked her about her F3 test that she did, and she actually told me in the chat that she's going to run F3 at Coda in October. She's going to run a race.
Maybe you weren't supposed to tell people.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Well, I don't think she would say that on just some stream if that was not supposed to be released.
Yes, yeah. Just remember, Mike has hundreds of people watching his stream, so
Yeah, and I've had a lot of fun with it, but that made that fun.
I'm just poking at him.
That's
No,
the point. You got to
look,
parlay that into them coming onto the show. Hopefully,
yeah, they were in my stream on earlier in the week on the F3 F4 races, and I had Chase actually giving me driving tips. Like you're going too wide on that last corner or something like that, and so that was kind of helpful. But look, Chase Cabre is leading the points in the F4 America's FIA championship this season in Division One. So he actually knows what he's doing. And I raced with him on Monday night. He won that race, and so it's been fun to kind of get to know him and Haley a little bit through the chat on TikTok during my streams. I appreciate them showing up. It's been fun. Moving on,
Hey, Mike.
Greg P4.
Mike, what did they comment saying with me being so far up the road in that race on you? They say anything about that?
I don't remember that. No.
probably if you asked them if what they thought about how Greg was doing, they'd be their statement would be, "Who?"
Yeah, exactly. But I had a P4. I started P4. I started fourth, and I finished fourth. It basically was all hot laps, and I didn't have anything for the top three. and I was in a league by myself. I think I commented at the end, did I not say that was boring? If I remember correctly.
Just run your laps out, right? Kyle Pendergraft, P4, great run. Tony Rochette, P13, second from the bottom. Right? And that takes us to Wednesday Open, Bristol. I got a P13. I ran anywhere from second to 10th most of the night. I was running about fourth, but I got too many incidents. Some guy ran over me from behind at a drive-through penalty. Fell down 2 laps from there and never really recovered. That really was upsetting. But look, as the incidents piled up through the 500 laps, I knew it was going to happen, and it did. Now, Justin Pearson was in my race, and guess what? Winner, winner, chicken dinner, P1. Here's what he says. I really just tried to survive until the end. I wanted to park it halfway through the race just because I was getting beat up so bad, but I stuck with it. I channeled my inner David Hall and pulled some strategy out of my ass. We got a caution around lap 20, and I was P6 when the field went into the pits. The whole field took tires besides me and another guy, which lined me up on the front row, P2 on the start. We had a green flag until about 2 to go. I was on that leader's ass the whole time, and if he messed up, I was going to get him, which I did. We were coming up on a lap car. The lap car stayed high, which so did the leader, and I chose whatever lane was open. And as soon as I cleared the leader, another caution fell, which led to a green-white checker. As soon as we hit the Geico restart zone, I mashed it and kept the lead until the checker came out. This might be my biggest win yet. This is a Team Tifosi win all the way. If you guys didn't help me with my computer issues the last couple of weeks, I would still be on the sidelines. Thanks, team. Now, on a personal note, I was in the race watching Justin win this, and I was just telling him, at the end, dude, you got this. These guys are chumps, man. You're going to get it, Go early on the start, just giving him that feedback, you got this, the coaching, and then to see him do it, on this, special event, it was very satisfying. It very was.
My current strategy to avoid getting wrecked out of NIS is working pretty well.
I was gonna say, if he's channeling his inner David Hall, does that mean he's moving to Xfinity Series?
Glad he hasn't. I'm glad he showed up to run this one. Brad, you showed up and you got a P29.
Yeah, so we were all in the same split. Was running up in the top, really 5 or 6. I guess we got in about a third through the race. I was running third and ended up getting collected out of a wreck of a bunch of back markers. So guys at the back of the track, it ended up wrecking coming out of, I don't know what corner it was. And literally there was no warning, no nothing. There was 4 cars just sitting completely broadside in the track with probably had a space for about 1 car to go through. I was running the top lane the whole time and there was no way for me to avoid it. I mean, literally just no options. I plowed into it and destroyed, and just every special event we've had in NIS has been terrible this year, absolutely terrible. So it continues.
And then Chris Waldron was also in our race. We had 4 guys in the same race. P20, 19 laps down, and 18 of them were from stupid pit road mistakes. Work's been nuts. I'm chasing a toddler, and I've not slept well, and it shows. Hopefully, I'll get some rest and be better at Kansas. Great win, Justin. All right, and let's talk 6 hours of Indy P2. Wow, great job, guys.
Yeah, it was me, Kyle, and Tom. I started it and it was in the harder part of the track, so I had the second fastest lap time. Stayed out of any major trouble. We had like one weird little incident that happened with a GT3 that ran us out wide when we were passing them on the outside. It was only like 8 seconds of damage, so it just got fixed on the pit. And I think people just kept wrecking out in front of us. The leader was 2 laps in front of us, and one of them crashed out like not crashed, but their computer died on them. They lost power or something. And the other guy had to jump in, and we got about a lap back on him in that process. Ran clean, stayed out of trouble. Kyle kept it clean. Tom finished it out, had the fastest lap, and he said it's one of his favorite tracks. He brought us home in second, only about 50 seconds behind. So it was nice to have a unbroken result in one of the specials.
I don't think it's going to be too much longer until you guys actually win one of these things.
I feel like everything's just gotta go right. It's the unluck of the draw sometimes with those two and who you're racing.
Yeah, and it's just you have to have so much go right for so much longer in an endurance race, and they don't come around as long.
There's always just those guys that just seem to always have more pace than us somewhere, but it was great that you guys were able to get that.
And then,
Mike, before you go on, I did an NIS race today for Bristol.
all right, let's hear it.
I finished P9. I was second with about 90 laps to go. We had a 150 lap, no, about 100 lap run going where we had to do green flag pit stops, and I went in, and then about 10 laps into the green flag pit stops, me and the leader had pitted, and then third on back had stayed out, and I don't know what happened to this guy. He says that his motor blew, and he just parked it on the side of the track instead of rolling it down pit road or something like that. He just parked it, and it brought out the caution. And me and the guy that was probably the guy who was gonna win the race, unless something happened, we're 2 laps down, and we couldn't do anything about it. We'd already had 10 laps on our tires too, that we were racing pretty hard. So then it went back green and went the whole distance, and it just we couldn't make anything up. Of course, there was no wrecks at the end of the race to try and get laps back. There was no cars 1 lap down, so we were fighting for the lucky dog to get 1 lap down, and it sucked. But I was close. I knew it was going to come down to green flag pit stops. If it would have just been normal caution flag pit stops, it would have been a top 2 or 3 for me.
And then back to 6-hour Indy, Brad and Justin wrecked.
Yeah, so Justin and I decided to take on the GTD. Had a really good qualifying. I think I started like 6th or something. Really had really good pace. Really felt like this was an opportunity for us to at least get a top 5. Lap 2 had a guy ahead of us just driving like an idiot. Ended up causing a 3-car wreck coming out of turn 1. And then about 10, I guess maybe 7 or 8 laps later, it wasn't very long, that same driver decided to send it from about 15 cars back into turn 1, trying to pass 2 cars, and I guess me as well, and just destroyed us. We ended up with about 7 minutes of damage. Got all that fixed. We're starting to work our way back up after being 10 laps down. Guys were having other issues, and then going through, I guess, turn 3, which is the sweeping right-hander. I'm running my line as normal when LMP2 just decides that I guess I wasn't moving fast enough, and he just plows into the back of me. Just really unfortunate. It's very frustrating when guys just do stupid things, and there's not an apology. There's nothing. They're silent. You're 15 minutes into a 6-hour race, and you're destroyed, and it's just like, I'm not even going to say anything.
And these kind of things are more ruinous of the gaming experience than using the word troll as well, but you can't protest them.
No, I mean, I snipped it. I mean, and I was like, you know what? It ain't gonna do nothing. I mean, it's just stupidity. I mean, literally, like I said, 15 car lengths back. I mean, he did every. I don't even know if he hardly hit the brake until he hit me. I just don't get it. I don't understand it at all.
Moving on, I ran the FIA F4 Regional Americas Championship. And third attempt at Willow Springs, I started 4th. I got up to 2nd and finished 2nd. Only 83 points compared to the 85 I got for 5th last week. My fourth attempt, I qualified P2, was running P2 when I got ran over after getting loose. Um, the lap car was right on my ass and ran over me, and I finished P11. This is where Haley Deegan and Chase Cabray were in the chat. Haley sent me what TikTok's got this thing where they give you gifts, which are worth money and stuff. And so she sent me the hat and the mustache, and I ended up with a $1.80 or something that TikTok owes me because of it. But anyway, yeah. And then my next race was Monday, the first race at Sebring, car number 4 in the second split. Qualified third, really made no mistakes, finished second. The guy who won was about a second a lap faster than me. I got 89 championship points. That's enough for the week, but I'll run the other 3 races. My second race I qualified for. I would make some aggressive moves and got to the lead and then spun myself out from the lead back to 6, drove back up to second myself, and then I wrecked out at DNF. Third, that one burned because I thought I was going to win it. Third race, fairly high split. I qualified 7th, got to 4th, and tangled with a guy on the final turn, and we all wrecked, and I had to tow P15. IMSA, or no, B Open, David.
Yeah, P10 at the Glen. Just ran my pace. Didn't have any issues.
Right, then IMSA at Fuji.
Yeah, I had so far a 4th, a 6th, and a 7th. It is raining like crazy in the sprint series. Track state of about 83. But if I'm running against LMP2s that are my I rating, I can actually outrun them in on this track in the wet now. So I don't know if it's just because I'm finally getting the thing figured out a little bit or not. So not terrible. It's still tricky though. There will be some times when I've got a smooth rhythm going on in the wet, and then I'll be on one of the like real gentle curves, like the 2 right hand kinks, and it'll just let go.
Brad P12.
Yeah, Fuji as well, GTD. So, with the low participation, you don't get splits, so makes for a very frustrating week when you get into a race and you got guys that are 5 and 6,000 I rating. You kind of know where you're going to be. Just like I texted in the chat, just get frustrated with faster classes. Kind of played the race out. I thought I was going to be in good shape. Pitted late, like I normally do. Jumped 3 guys, in the pits, and like David said, just kind of come out. I hadn't spun the car, hadn't even gotten a 1X the entire race. Come out of the pits, and I don't know what I hit, but spun the car. No idea. Just same line I'd been taking. No issues, and spun the car. But just a very, very frustrating race.
All right. Other hosted I ran Delara. Well, it wasn't hosted. Delara Dash. I came in P2 at Charlotte. Almost won it. I did talk to the winner, Kevin McCarthy, after the race. That's the guy who's a regular in the Delara Dash. He informed me that Moza sent him some free pedals. We talked about the active brake that is coming up from Moza. He said that it'd be coming this fall. And there's not only going to be the active brake, but they're going to have the component available for clutch and throttle as well. So you can get it on all 3. So like he's like a ambassador for the brand or something, and they send him free equipment. Pretty cool. Then I ran Pickup Cup at Old Daytona, and guess what? Winner, chicken dinner. Got that win. Boy, that really strokes my ego, even though it's a bunch of rookies and whatnot. I think I was the highest I rating in the room, but I'll take the win. And then I ran Gen 4 at Bristol. I finished P7 on that. And then 87s at Talladega wrecked out. And then the mini stocks at Iowa P5. And that brings us to final thoughts. David Hall.
So running the B car a little, but the schedule right now, I guess until the time change, doesn't work with marching season. I'm just not getting home in time to get ready for a 7 o'clock race, and then 9 o'clock is too late. So I'm spending more time in IMSA, having fun with it, and we've got a team now that are doing going to try to do the conspit 6 hour races, depending on who can make it each weekend, which you can do. You don't have to have the same teammate each week because you collect your points individually. So me and Kyle are going to be able to run the Fuji, and we'll see if we can get all 6 races in this year. So that's kind of be my focus probably for the next 12 weeks.
Hey, very good. Greg Hectus, final thought.
Just kind of pissed off about racing all that Bristol race and that happened late in the race, but shit happens. Don't know if I'm gonna get much racing done this weekend. It's a pretty busy weekend, but we'll see you next week. What we got? Kansas. We go to Kansas for NIS, and then on to the whatever we can do there from there. But yeah, just starting to slow down. Hopefully, we can race more.
Hey, and Brad Wren, final thought.
I'll try to make another start at Bristol, I guess, tomorrow night. Just really would like to finish one of the full distance races this year. Have not finished one yet. Be happy to get out of Fuji. Not my favorite track, and with the rains, even worse. But I don't know, just a little bummed right now. It's kind of in one of those ruts where nothing seems to go right, regardless of series. So we'll get out of it. That's what it is.
It'll cycle. Just stick it with it. It'll cycle. All right, my final thoughts. Leading the points again in the FIA F4 America in my new division, Division 4. Last season I was Division 7, but happy on week 2 to be leading the points. I've already, believe it or not, am practicing for next week. I ran practice laps earlier today at Indy Road Course, trying to figure out what my best lap time is and see if I can increase it and get it faster before the start of the week on Monday. So I'm serious about trying hard on this season, and I'm putting in the effort from week 1, and we'll see how it plays out. And with that, hey, I'll see you on the TikTok stream later. All right, Title